Welcome, everybody, to the Genesis Project Podcast. Business principles for beginners from the School of Hard Knocks. They say that success leaves clues. In this podcast, we're going to discover the clues that it leaves behind, and we're going to start at the very beginning. We'll get into the weeds of how the guests of the show came up with their business ideas, the why behind their business ideas, how they dealt with setbacks and failures, what keeps them pushing forward, and the emotions behind it all. Everyone wants to start a business, but many are held back by something that keeps them from starting. We'll learn what it takes to get to the next level of business and beyond, and we're learning together through different principles of people who graduated from the School of Hard Knocks. So, grab you a pen, some paper, and a highlighter to take notes, because class is in session. Welcome to the School of Hard Knocks. This is the Genesis Project Podcast, and I am your Chancellor, Bernard Gleaton. And when I reached out to this guest professor, I was really excited because she has just about everything in the kitchen sink going on at the present moment. And I was so excited when she said yes. So I want to bring to the class guest professor Erika Williams. Erika, say what's up to the class.
Oh, what's up, everybody? It's your girl Erika from the Classy Climb blog.
Oh, this is awesome. All right. So I'm trying to contain my excitement, but I want you to tell the class a little bit about you. Just give them a short little bio on you, and then we can go ahead and jump into it.
For sure. So I'll try to keep it short. Basically, military kid, lived in Alaska, lived in North Carolina, Tennessee, Atlanta. Well, Alabama, actually. But anyway, and I flipped a coin in North Carolina after I had a coffee shop, and the coffee shop closed after 2 years across from a historically Black college called Fayetteville State University. I flipped a coin and I said, I'm going to go to Nashville, Tennessee, or I'm going to go to Austin, Texas. And so here we are in Austin, Texas. And my journey, I was working in apartment management in the daytime, and at night I was delivering pizzas in the hot Texas sun, and I'm just throwing money into my lending club and Prosper Notes. And as I'm sitting in the office one day, we learned that I made a recommendation to the company to hire a full-time painter for $50,000. And the company's like, nope, we're going to keep outsourcing it. Well, that year we had 175 units move out instead of just the 25 or 50 they thought. And we ended up paying that contractor over $350,000. Mm-hmm. And at that moment, I called my friend and I said, hey, friend, we're going to start a paint company. And so I've had a series of businesses here in Texas, and I'm currently on my biggest project yet, which is one, I raised $1.9 million, but I've also managed now $2 million plus in assets, which is property, trucking, and I'm a Project Texas Ground Zero. Many of you have been hearing me talk about all year long. It's 18-acre property. It's got a truck repair shop in the front, and it'll house over 344 trucks in the back, plus a mini hotel.
That is amazing. My wife asked me how come I don't have enough women on the show, and I can't wait to play this back to her and show her that I do have women come on the show. And another thing that jumped out at me, I heard that Austin is a great food city. Is that
amazing?
True?
It's amazing. There's a big food truck trailer kind of culture here because the weather, we have over 300 days of sunshine. And not many places can say that. Yes, Colorado can say they have 300 days of sunshine, but they're cold. Most of them are cold there. Yeah. And so food trucks galore, you name it, Asian food, Hispanic food, just unique combinations. People can kind of be creative with their own food trucks. Okay. And so you'll see a lot of Instagram pages on foodie kind of Instagrams, and it does live up to the hype. Trust me, if you get here, we could take you for a week on some of the best food places.
And, I'm a big foodie, and I love to eat, and I will come down there just for the food, just for the food alone. All right, so guest Professor Erika, are you ready to get into the lesson today?
For sure, let's do it.
Awesome. So one of the main reasons why I brought you onto the show was because I really want you, and I have you slotted to come back and talk about a couple more subjects. But the subject that we're going to be talking about today is starting a business with little money. So before we actually take a deep dive into this lesson, I want to ask you the first question, which is, what is your Genesis moment? And for those of you who are brand new to the School of Hard Knocks, to the Genesis Project podcast, your Genesis moment is that moment when you come to a fork in your road, and you can go right, you can go left. Doesn't have to be good, doesn't have to be bad, but you can see what your life could look like beyond those steps. So, example of a Genesis moment would be me starting this podcast. That's a Genesis moment. Me getting married. That's another Genesis moment. And another Genesis moment will be me trying out for the CFL 4 years removed from high school. So, Guest Professor Erika Williams, I want you to tell us, what is your Genesis moment?
I think in life we have several of them, as you've described, right?
Yeah.
I'm before I even say my Genesis moment, I want to give a kudo to you, because there's a movie called Dune, and I don't mean the new one coming out. I mean the 1984 version, classic.
Okay.
And the son looks at the father and he says, "Father, why are we moving? This is a setup." He said, "No, son. If we don't move, something inside us sleeps."
Oh.
And so later in the movie, of course, the father dies. I ain't gonna kill it for y'all, but you got to go watch the original. And the son's out in the middle of in the desert, and he goes, "Father, the sleeper has awakened." and if you don't watch that movie for nothing else but that, I mean, it's a classic. It's a classic.
You said Dune, right? D-U-N-E?
Dune, D-U-N-E, 1984 version. There's been many people try to remake this movie. They've got one coming out the end of this year, and it has everybody, all the stars.
Okay.
But the classic, it's still good to this day. You can watch it and be like, man, this was made 10 years ago, you know? And so for me, every time I feel like I'm sleeping, or I'm getting too comfortable, or I'm coasting, that usually a Genesis moment usually comes for me. So prime example, I'm in North Carolina. I had a moment where I decided not to get married to a particular individual, and my business had closed. And I said, you know what? This is the time to move. If we don't move now, we will never move. And I flipped a coin between Nashville or Austin, and I got to Austin. Well, I was in Austin, and I was sitting in the office, and after I was kind of felt like I was disrespected by the boss for my suggestion, I looked up, I said, well, guess what? I'm going to call my friend, and we're going to start our own painting company, right?
Right.
I had another moment where I had a emergency surgery, and I think it was like 4 days later, I get up and I do a YouTube video. My mom's like, "Are you doing a YouTube video right now?" I did that video. And what was so crazy about me doing the video, in the middle of having this surgery, I just been stressed, right? I had surgery. And so literally the next month I made $50,000 in 1 month. It was the first time making it. And I told her, so yeah, I got up and did that video. And I look back at many moments that are moments where you can see, like, it's about consistency, and it's also about making a decision up here. Right? You'd be amazed what your body can do when you make a mental decision, right? You've seen that. Football players, baseball players, people get hit by stuff, people get in car wrecks and walk again, and everything else. And so a lot of this is mental, is what I want people to understand.
Oh man, I love that answer. I love that answer. All right, so now that we got the icebreaker out of the way, let's get down to business. Let's go ahead and talk about starting a business with little money. I mean, we've seen plenty of ads, and heard plenty of people talking about starting a business with little money, and some of it, or maybe a lot of it, may be scams, right? But I know that there's some slither of truth in there somewhere, right? How can we actually start a business with little money? Because I'm assuming you've done it. Well, reading from your resume, I know you've done it. So tell us, how did you do it?
So the best thing I tell people is do an examination of what skills you have. And 9 times out of 10, a lot of us already have a lot of experience from our jobs, from what we do daily, and we can literally take that experience and leverage it. There's a great thing called invest, learn, teach. And invest, learn, teach just basically is you invest in the knowledge, whether it's books, courses, whatever. You learn it like the back of your hand, and then you can teach it. And so what I try to tell people, the best I can tell people is you can either teach from your experience, and people will love to pay you for that. Or you can teach from a position of, let's go on this journey together. And so one of the businesses I started with no money is my YouTube channel, right? And we've just added along the years. We just got this mic for the office here, right? Because we moved to a new office and it was really echoey, and we're trying to soundproof the place. And they're
Yeah.
like, Erika, it's still terrible. So I just invested. So every business I've started, I've just keep investing and improving it along the way. Most of my other smaller businesses I've started by having an LLC and opening a business bank account. And I have either a website or somewhere for people to connect with me. Because really it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Get that business name, get that LLC, get that business bank account, get a website for them to connect with you. Where do they meet you? Do they meet you on podcasts? Do they meet you on Facebook? Do they meet you on Instagram? Where do they connect with you at? And then have somewhere for them to purchase products and service from you. And 6, have an email list. Now you're going to say, Eric, I have a plumbing business. Still have an email list. When you email them once a month or once a quarter, or, preferably once a month. Hey, you guys, this is your friendly reminder. It's November. Make sure you turn on your pipes and you do this and you do that for winter. If you don't have an email list, you don't have a business. And people say, but I'm a this or that. Listen to me. If you're a plumber and you want business, how do you go generate business tomorrow? Right. So I tell people, if you could email all your past customers, there's got to be 1% somewhere. If you had 1,000 past customers and you send out 1,000 emails, right? One customer or at least 10 might be like, we do have a leaky something, or we have this not working, or we have that not working. We need you to come back out. Because if you're not in people's front of mind some way, somehow, they forget about you. Mm-hmm. Most times when you call for a plumber, it's because you need it, not because you want it.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. You said that. So let me just retract real quick. Mm-hmm. So invest, learn, and teach. Mm-hmm. And you gave 6 steps, but I was only able to get 5. So get business name, get the LLC, the bank account, get the website, and get an email list. Or create an email list, right?
So where you have the website, some way for them to pay. So they might just meet you on Instagram, right? And that's where they get all the information your company can give them from Instagram. But then you have a place where they can pay you products and services, right? You have a LinkedIn up there and they pay you via what? Gumroad, Stripe, PayPal. How do they pay you? That's a very important component to it. And then the last part is the email list. Always collect the emails.
Always collect the emails. I've had this conversation with somebody the other day, a client of mine, as a matter of fact. And I was telling them that, they may hear about the email list being dead. And I told them that is complete false. That's just completely wrong, right? And those people who want to believe that the email list is dead, probably not going to make it not too much longer. And the example that I gave my client is that with a email list, let's say you have 1,000 friends on Facebook. That's great. You probably don't really talk to all 1,000 of them, but you have 1,000 friends on Facebook. And let's say Mark Zuckerberg just decided to just shut down Facebook. Well, now you screw because you have no way to talk to your 1,000 friends, right? But if you collected their email addresses and Mark decided to hit that button to end Facebook forever, Facebook will be gone, but you still got your 1,000 friends' email addresses for you to contact them. And once I explained that to them, it really made sense to them. Like, okay, this is something that I really have to focus on. So that's awesome that you brought that up, because I don't think a lot of people. I feel that people are starting to believe that, maybe the email list is dead and Facebook ain't going anywhere and all that type of stuff. You know what I mean?
Let me give you 3 little mini life lessons. First part is all third-party platforms perform in their best interest. And it's for everybody that's on their platform is their customer. They're not yours. Now, first story, Alex Beaton, I don't know if you ever heard of her, but she essentially had just a huge Facebook and a huge YouTube channel. It was just growing. All of a sudden, the YouTube channel was deleted. First thing we saw was an email saying, hey, you guys, I hope you're in the membership team. We don't know what happened, but YouTube deleted our channel. She had over 1,000 people in her monthly membership. The 1,000 people in her monthly membership were paying $9.99 a month. So you do the math, 1,000 people times $9.99 a month. And it eventually got to 10,000 people in there.
Yeah.
So you do the math. Do you think she was okay with that YouTube being gone? She got over it, right?
Yeah.
But she was able to because she had an email list. Next example, Ray Higdon. Rank Makers, you may see him now because he runs crazy amounts of ads because he's making killer money. But at the time, he had a very big growing YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, boom, he went down. So he goes into his email list and he says, hey, if you ever wanted to interview me and have a one-on-one conversation, now is the time. He ended up doing 500 interviews after that for the next month. And guess what? So now anytime you Google him on YouTube, yeah, he lost his big momentous YouTube page, but you typed in his name came up everywhere because he just did 500 interviews. Mm-hmm. So again, if it wasn't for his email list, it would have been like Ray Higdon, who just disappeared. Right. Now, the third example is, and this is a bad example because the person didn't have an email list, is a young man was running a hip hop online kind of flowing with the YouTube, doing the YouTube lives, and he was interviewing music artists. He had 6 people on staff, and they were just starting to build the email list. They had over 300,000 people on their Facebook page, and it went away. And literally he was making so much money from advertisers, holding up spots, holding up stuff. He was just starting to get it, the website done and get the podcast started up, and boom, Facebook page gone. Then he went on all the major rap places and said, hey, help me petition for us to get our website back. We had staff and employees, and people said, well, where's your email list? We just started it. We only had 10,000 people on it. He had 300,000 people watching, connecting, donating money, buying products and services, supporting rap artists that came on his Facebook videos. Mm-hmm. And just like that, it was gone. Mm-hmm. And so, I remember watching maybe for 6 months, this guy told me, I'm going to sue Facebook. He was just going on and on. And it was like, this is a lesson to be learned. If you don't have an email list, all third-party platforms will perform the same. Amazon, those are Amazon's customers. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. Facebook, those are Facebook customers. Yeah. YouTube, those are YouTube's customers. And YouTube will cut your traffic and don't care. Mm-hmm. And there's something someone said that what I love is called Jason Black. He says, you can't shadow ban a billboard. Right? And he's crazy as can be. But I love it because what he started doing was buying billboards. Yeah. What a lot of people have started doing is buying podcast ads. iHeart, Pandora, radio, you name it. Mm-hmm. Right? So just because one party platform tries to deter you, but if you have an email list and another form of marketing, you can make it forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So class, let that be a lesson. Get you an email list. Create you an email list. If you have not started your email list, you should start today. You already behind if you have not started your email list. So get you an email list. All right. So I want you to tell me, what was the one thing you wish you knew before you started your business?
That it's going to take longer than I thought.
Okay.
Right. Okay. There's this habit where we're like free 99. I'm going to use all the free tools. Free takes time. Yeah. There's a reason you see all these people that you ain't never heard of using Facebook ads and YouTube ads. They're trying to cut the time curve. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And yes, a lot of them will cut the time curve, but if they don't have the substance to keep people, it'll still be hard. Right now, people are like, Erika, how did you raise $1.9 million? I've been on here all the time for 6 years on YouTube. I ain't going nowhere. You can come by my office. You can call our office phone. You can see us in person. We have monthly meetings. We go out and do speeches. I'm a legit person. You can come by the office anytime. Mm-hmm. Now, I may not always be here, but you can come by the office, right? Mm-hmm. And what ends up happening is people think they're going to get people's, there's a thing called trust and respect, like you get it really quickly, but you don't, right? It's called The Speed of Trust is a really great book, but the trust factor, yes, you could run ads right now, today. But if I go to your Facebook page or your YouTube page, really YouTube, and you got 2 videos, who are you? Right. Who are you running this money? Like you don't have any credibility. You haven't been out here a long time. Right. And so I try to get people to understand that the one thing I can tell them is time. 2 years and 5 years are going to pass either way. Mm-hmm. And if you've seen my journey, you can tell, look, 5 years going to pass. What you going to do? Mm-hmm. You can either be $2 million richer at the end of it or $2 million broker, Mm-hmm. So it depends.
So what I heard from that is that you need to be playing the long game. Starting a business, you need to be playing the long game. And just to backtrack a tad bit, and again, it does go with the lesson that you're talking about today, as far as start a business with little money, right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as using the free stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
at a certain point, you just gonna have to put money into that free stuff and start getting the paid stuff so that everything will start turning over better, right?
Well, even consistency, right? So a lot of people
Yeah.
reach out to our staff to interview me, and I'll go, well, "How many podcasts do you have?" Not that I'm snobby. She'll go, "They have 3." I say, "Well, let's see when they get 6 or 7 or 8,"
Yeah.
because this is
Yeah.
what happens. Spotify has a ton of people doing podcasts, a ton of them, and I don't know this for a fact. I'm just guessing, but I'd say 50% of them haven't done a podcast in a year, or they do 4 and they quit. They're not consistent, and so what happens is, I want to work with people who are consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, a lot of people are seeing Joe Budda, however you say his name, making a lot of stink because for the past 3 years in a row, he's been #1 on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
For 3 years, they bought billions of dollars into other artists, people. They just spent $100 million getting Joe Rogan over there, and yet he is still #1, hands down. And you know why? Because he's consistent. 2 times a week, every week for the past 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Only time he didn't record is when his father was dying.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is you gain credibility and you gain traction in your business just by being consistent. That's why I'm big on, let's say you don't have a lot of money, but you keep contributing to your blog or your podcast every week, once a week. Let's just say you can carve out once a week to get a blog done, once a week to get a podcast out, once a week to build a new relationship in affiliate marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I made 6 figures last year off just affiliate marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all different. I've had 3 different people I made 6 figures off of in affiliate marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's not even counting the YouTube money. And then that's not even counting the other businesses I was in.
Right.
And so a lot of times people are like, well, Erika, and a lot of that was still organic.
Mm-hmm.
This year's the year we've started really dumping into to ads. 5 years in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying everybody has to take 5 years, but I'm saying they have to show some form of consistency for people to work with you in business and in life.
Consistency. I love that. It seems like that's just a running theme at the present moment, as far as the whole consistency thing. Because I'm really feeling like you really try and drive people away from thinking this is going to be a overnight success. You know what I mean? That quick get rich hustle. Yeah, and just like you said, you've been at this for those who feel like, people have became an overnight success. They might be overnight to you, but they put years and years and years into the game to become this overnight success. You know what I mean? And a lot of times it just disproves that this whole overnight success thing is just a fad. It's not overnight. I've been here for a while. You're just now starting to understand, and you just now getting to know who I am and all that type of stuff. So that's awesome. I really appreciate you for driving that point home, because I don't think enough people do that. And maybe they just need to hear it from the right person. Maybe they need to hear the right words to understand that. But I really appreciate you for saying that.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this: what was some of the steps that you took to actually begin a business from little money, or with little or no money?
The steps are usually just, honestly, like, I'm very cut and dry to the blunt experience. Is like, once I study something and understand, okay, how do we monetize something, and then I move from there, right? If you have a blog, it's getting people on your email list. And eventually, like most people, when they write a blog, they're just kind of, they quit being consistent, because here's the thing. Most people who have blogs make it into a book. A lot of the people you see that are authors, they just blogged for a year, 1 article a week, and then at the end of the year, they've combined it and put it in a book. Now, many people go, that's crazy, Erika, but it's not, because what ends up happening is that information, most people won't go read every single blog for the year in your blog. They just won't do it. They just won't. But what they will do is take bites and chunks out of it and tackle it, right? And so what people have to understand is people will literally bite-size the material to get what they need out of it. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know, the fact that you mentioned that, it reminds me of how we have a lot of these bestsellers who you've never heard of before. You know, all they did was they created a community. Let's say in a Facebook group, they created a Facebook group and they started cultivating that community, that group, and then they created a book and then sold the book from Amazon. They sold it on Amazon, but they sold it to their community. And now, according to Amazon standards, you are a bestseller because you have, let's say, 10,000 people. And now you go around saying, oh, yeah, I'm a bestseller on Amazon.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Whereas the standards on, what is it, Wall Street Journal or New York's Fame, Author House, or whatever else like that, their standards is totally different. So I love the fact that you bring that up. Man, you are just hitting a lot of awesome points right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate it. I'm sure the class do too. So I want you to tell the class, how do you run a business and still find balance with your home life?
You got to schedule it. If you don't schedule it, it ain't happening. People love telling me, oh, you know, you seem so busy. And I'm like, I'm really not. Not anymore. What I tell people is if you don't schedule it, it ain't going to happen. So for prime example, I schedule, it used to be twice a week. Now it's 4 times a week, time with my personal trainer. Because my physical fitness is important. And people have seen over the channel there, I had 2 emergency, didn't realize I was going to happen surgeries. One was an appendix about to burst, and the other one was another surgery. And I ended up gaining some weight over it because it was my core, and I'm like trying to sit up and trying to do all these things. And so I scheduled that time because if I don't schedule it, it's not going to happen. I schedule twice a week for a place called Stretch Zone to stretch the body, the legs, the muscles, so I can stay limber and fit and kind of do what I need to do. Right? You don't want to injure yourself. And then twice, well, it used to be twice. Now it's just once a week. I schedule a massage. Well, then I also schedule dinner with my friends. Once a week, we're all going to do dinner on a Friday. Sometimes Fridays are date night Fridays, but you know, most of the time Fridays is with the friends Friday, right?
Yeah.
And then I schedule Sundays for like a devotional time, church time. Right now, we haven't been going to churches because a lot of people haven't, but there are some that are outside, or there's some that I'll just take the time. Okay, at this time, I'm going to watch a sermon and I'm going to watch praise and worship, right? My biggest thing is if you don't schedule it, it ain't going to happen. And I love Asana because I just start scheduling everything in its mom for my staff. And I know they be in there just like, what is she putting stuff in here at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning? Because sometimes I wake up and be like, oh, you know, we need to do this all next week. And my biggest takeaway is if you don't schedule it, it won't happen. And you'll talk to people. If you don't know where you're going, like if you don't have a plan, the world doesn't have much plan for you. You're the most important person because you're to yourself, because you're the only one who's going to plan for you. Your employer don't have much plan for you. Okay. Keep you right there in that same position for as long as possible. Sometimes your own family and friends don't have much plan for you. They don't know what you want to do with yourself. A lot of times you'll see people, a lot of people sometimes, they don't know where they're going. And I'm going to tell you like this. If you don't know where you're going in the next 5 to 10 years, you're already there. You're already there because you haven't planned. So if write it down or it ain't happening. You know how people say, take a picture or it didn't happen? Same thing. Write it down or it ain't happening. And what I do is sometimes I used to book a lunch or 2 and force myself to leave the office. So whatever work I had to do, it had to get done quickly because I'm going to this event. I'm going out the door. I'm scheduling myself over here. Now, yes, do you need to have unstructured, free, flexible time? For sure. And for those people married with kids, you guys know you guys have a little bit different schedule. But I tell you right now, there is one married guy I know, he is seriously committed about that time. He gets up extra early in the morning and walks on the treadmill. And I'm talking about Eric Thomas Preacher. I'm talking about a person that I know locally. And he'll do a lot of stuff on his walking desk in the garage in the morning. So he doesn't disturb his wife. And he's walking and he's getting his exercise in because it has to be somewhere in your schedule. You can't blame your kids. You can't blame your spouse. You can't blame COVID. You have to schedule it.
Yeah. I think one of the many blessings I think that this pandemic have brought about is the opportunity for us to sit down and to really figure out what it is that we want, right? That the fact that you kept on hitting home scheduling, writing it down. If you don't schedule it, it's not going to happen. I think for those of us who let's say, God forbid, had the time off from work due to the pandemic and all that type of stuff, this is the best time, if ever, to actually create something of yours and put it out there. You know, but like you said, it's all about scheduling. It's all about scheduling. That is amazing. And you dropped some really, really great jewels. And class, I hope you really taking a chance to take these notes down, because everything that she hitting right now is amazing. Completely amazing. So with that being said, let me ask you this. What was the biggest mistake you made as an entrepreneur? I mean, you went on and you handling multi-million-dollar assets. You know, you started multiple companies. I know there has to be one mistake that you made as an entrepreneur.
Oh, I made plenty. I made tons. I mean, here's the thing. I will fail more than most people will try. And I'm willing to fail some more. Do you know what I'm saying? So one example, you know, the rule of thumb is always under promise, over deliver. And this year there's been some over promise and under deliver, unfortunately. Right. And you can't control COVID, right? You can't control COVID. Everything can't be blamed on it, but you can't control people. You just have to profusely apologize, offer transparency, and move forward. And you may lose some people on that. You know, what people don't understand about running businesses is you have to get over not being liked sometime. And I've met people who, to the detriment of their marriages, to the detriment of their business, and a desire to be liked, and they're obsessive people pleaser. They've run themselves, their businesses into the ground. And sometimes you just gotta tell people no. It's the no, boo. It's not today, not for you. Not tomorrow, you know, and the biggest thing I try to tell people and teach people in my consultations is sometimes you got to get no as a full sentence.
A full sentence.
It's a full sentence. Somebody asks you something, no. You have to create space between you and your business so that you're not sitting here beating yourself to death or overworking yourself to death and in a desire to force time. See, here's what happens. Most people, okay, I'm gonna start a podcast. I'm gonna start a blog. I'm gonna start a YouTube channel. And they just start cramming every single day. They're just doing hours of recording, hours of this, hours of that. And then 3 months from now, they ain't doing it no more. They done burnt out. They're like, oh, that starting a business thing ain't for me. That's too much. That's because they were trying to force 2 years into 3 months. Because really, a lot of these people, if they give themselves in their business 2 to 3 years, they will see massive results. I mean, there was times where I had friends who were like, oh my God, just go get a job, girl. Just go get it. What are you doing? And then as soon as there were moments where I was like, well, maybe I should, boom, 50K came in, 70K came in, 80K came in. Okay, well now that you have this lump sum of money, it's for the rest of your life to be predictable and not this chaotic mess. We need to start doing what? We need to start putting money away, putting money in investments, which is the same thing. You know, we got away from our original thing. Like our original thing was I'm putting money in Lending Club and Prosper and all these things. And now when you start hitting these big numbers, you're like, no, don't lose focus of the original thing. It's little streams. It ain't killer money, but it's consistent money. Okay.
Right.
That's what I try to tell you. That's a t-shirt I have, but it ain't out yet.
So let me ask you this. I mean, you've already mentioned that you are not afraid to fail more times than people try, right? That has to bring about some type of fear. Yeah, I know that a lot of the people in the classroom, they may have a fear of, let's say, starting that business or putting out this ad or, you know, recording themselves to get more sales and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? What do you do to really deal with that fear that you may have?
Again, you gotta, how do y'all deal with this fear? You gotta take action. And some of you have to start immersing yourself. Here's something I really try to tell people to do. There's a great book called Cash Flow Quadrant, Robert Kiyosaki. It's way better than Rich Dad Poor Dad. People don't are sleeping on it, but it's the better book. And the reason why it's the better book is it lets you remind you that your friends and family can only offer you advice from their sphere of security and comfort. If all your friends work jobs, that's all they can be able to advertise or talk to you about. If your whole family are all firefighters and you want to be a police officer, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. What you doing? We all firefighters. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So this is what I tell people. This is the same thing that's going to happen in business. So what does that police officer do in that family of firefighters? He joins the police association. He joins to the police club. He goes to the police outings, the meetings, the events. If you want to start a business, and this is what people have to understand. Once you start something, this is part of the fear, that if I start it, then I'll be different and I can't go back to what was before, right? What was before was comfort. Here, this is where I'm going to be. When you start something new, even if you just start a podcast, I want you to spend the next 90 days associating yourself in Facebook groups that just talk about podcasting. I want you to immerse yourself in Facebook groups, meetups, Eventbrite messages. Now, we ain't meeting in person, but online virtual stuff. I want every day when you communicate with people, you're talking about podcasts. Why? Because your energy of what we're talking about here is completely different. Yeah. When you try to tell your friends and family that you're starting something, now first you got to break it down what it is you're starting. Then you got to tell them why you're starting. Then you got to tell them how you're going to make money off of it. Then you got to by the time you finish talking to your friends and family, you are defeated. You're out of energy and you're questioning your own mind. Does this make sense? When you get immersed in a group of people who are going the way you're trying to go, you will find new friends, you will find new community, and you may even find some of the people relationships. Part of the biggest fear people have of starting something is it will rock the boat of what they currently have. Yeah. Now, don't get it twisted. I actually know 2 couples who end up getting a divorce. Why? Not because the man, and one was a woman, did not get a successful business. His business is super successful. In the beginning, he did not convince his wife on why he was doing it. And he lost her in the 2-year process because it's like, this man's he's doing all these things, but why is he doing it? Why? Connect her to the story and get her in on the process. Because when you see this man, if I could tell you who he was, he's successful. His business is thriving, and in the middle of it, he's getting divorced, and people are like, what's happening? All right? Because when he first married her, he was in a safe, secure job. He was in the military. He was doing government contracting. Then he stepped out on this new thing that's different. When you do that, you have to understand, you have to convince those around you. Again, Grant Cardone, sell or be sold. You have to sell yourself on it and sell others on it. So in some ways, when people are like, oh, are you sad that, about husband, kids, and family at this moment? I'm like, no, because I would have had to convince a husband and kids repeatedly over the past 5 years. Come on, keep on coming with mama. We got this great idea. They'd have been like, no, ma, stop. Yeah. It's crazy. Stop it. Sit down. My husband would have been like, girl, if you don't stop playing with me, you know what I'm saying? So what people try to get people to say is, you're going to have some type of fear either way. You have to push through it.
The fact that, so before I hit the record button, I had told you that I had created an online course to help people start their business, right? In the first season, the first semester, I started reaching out personally to people, one, to grow my email list, but 2, just to let them know, hey, I have a podcast. Check me out. I was getting asked the same question by a lot of people. How do I start a business? So created a course, an online course, put it all together and put it out for everybody to answer this question that I was being asked a billion times, right? And not when I was starting my first business, I asked my family and friends, hey, how do I start a business, right? 90% of them never started a business before. They had some pretty great advice, but they never started a business before. And the 10% that had started a business, they couldn't really remember what it was like to start a business. You know what I mean? So I had to go through, which is, again, one of the reasons why I call this the School of Hard Knocks. I went through the School of Hard Knocks, took my bumps and bruises, took notes, and pretty much recorded everything that I did. What worked, what didn't work, what I
Mm-hmm.
should have did, what I am doing, what I should be doing next, and things of that nature, right? And I'm promoting that to people to say, listen, you ask your friends and family, yeah, I'm sure you have good intentions on doing that. But if you not talking to like-minded people, or let's just say people that's done it before, that's been there, that's done it, who just got out of the space that you in, right? They're not really going to help you. You know what I mean? Like I can't go to my mother and say, "Hey, mom, can you help me put together a marketing plan?" Right? My mother never put together a marketing plan. So how much help is she gonna be to me if she never put together a marketing plan? You know what I mean? Now I might ask her just for little bits and pieces of advice, and that's fine, right? But can I really be sold on what she's telling me? She never had experience before. You know what I mean? So to the class, I'm saying this because everything that guest Professor Erika is putting out there, shouting to the top of her lungs, is completely true. You definitely have to immerse yourself in whatever you're thinking about doing, just to learn, just to be around other people, because those other people is going to give you ideas on what it is you're doing now, and it could just help you later on in the future. So always
Mm-hmm.
be learning, always be learning. I so appreciate you for putting that out there.
Yeah.
So we're getting down to the last few questions here. I want to ask you,
Mm-hmm.
what is the one big takeaway that you want the class to leave with?
Say it one more time.
The one big takeaway that you want the class to leave away with today.
When starting a business with no money, the most important thing you can do is start. A lot of you are scared, you're fearful of maybe telling other people that you started this thing and it don't work out. I want you to let go a lot of that fear. I want you to completely immerse yourself in whatever ideal it is, whether it's digital business. Never and again in a time in America will you be at home with this much free time to start a business,
Yeah,
right? To put an hour a day into something you love or you want to create. Our bodies, we are natural builders. Thank the Lord because He made us naturally builders, tinkers. We do stuff. A body in motion stays in motion kind of thing.
hmm,
And so for a lot of you, if you've had something you've been thinking on, you've been wanting to do it for a long time, go do it, because no matter if there's 1,000 personal trainers out there, they don't have you out there. I don't care if there's
exactly,
1,000 blogs out there, they don't have you,
exactly.
and so you offer something valuable to the conversation, and to your own life. And trust me, your kids um, they see you building, they see you doing something, they see you taking care of stuff. People see that often. And so I just want to make sure that you do it for you, one, and do it because there are people who are watching,
Hmm.
and mostly your spouse and your kids. And I'll tell you this right now, a lot of people who start a business with no money and they actually stay consistent for 2 years, your spouse is probably more behind you than anybody else. When
Hmm.
they see you are consistent, not this fad diet you start and quit 30 days later, but actually you keep doing this for 2 years, that person will be behind the scenes going, man, how can I support this person?
Right, right,
And give them a way to support you.
right.
Give them a way to help. Give them a way that they can be a part of the valuable conversation and work you're doing.
Just a side note. One of
Mm-hmm.
the things that I do to deal with fear for me personally
Mm-hmm.
is I've developed a IDGAF attitude, right? The IDJF attitude is I don't give a. But with that attitude, I developed it from me just playing football or me just playing sports in general, right? Yeah, things could go wrong and things can go wrong. What about the things that could go right? Well, we don't know which way it's going to turn unless we actually do it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If I throw this pass, it's a good opportunity. It's a great possibility that could get intercepted. You know, but if I don't throw this pass, we may not get this first down, right? In
True.
basketball, if I don't take this shot, you know, I may miss, yes. But then again, if I make it, then that's points on the board. So
Hmm.
again, that IDGF attitude for me comes in handy. Um, you know, and by all means, class, are we not saying that we are experts in business? Because a lot of times we're just throwing stuff at the wall and it works. Okay, cool. Let me keep doing it. Let me just keep pushing that button. But I'm saying that to say that just like Erika, like guest professor Erika Williams said so elegantly, just put into action. Put into action. Put into action. So, yes, Professor Erica, we have come to the last question.
Hmm.
And I want you to really think about this. Okay.
Hmm.
What is something personal that you want the class to know about you that cannot be found on Google or Wikipedia?
I love two things. Well, three things I love. I love sushi. I love sci-fi, goofy 1980s sci-fi channels. And then I love listening in the office, which drive people crazy, to Brazilian music or old elevator jazz music. Staff is probably like, please, for the love of Pete, stop it.
Oh, elevator jazz music. Okay.
Yeah, it's like do 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 do
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
It's just like it became a very soothing background noise, and so I just kept with it. I'd be like do
So,
do 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 do. I'm like, and it'd be saxophone, sounds so cheesy, but I love it.
so does that mean you are a fan of what is it called? Science Theater 3000?
No, I actually didn't like that show. I
Come
do not like it.
on.
I have no. I know everybody wants me to like it, but I just do not like it whatsoever. And so what I've learned is I stick with what I like. What I like is the old animator movies, the old 1980s silly stuff that really is classic and unique. And
Okay.
they'll never make it again because it was terrible.
So
Like you can
so
go look at it, and the quality, it's like they were just throwing stuff together. You know what I mean?
So, for example, Spaceball.
Yeah, Spaceball. I mean, they'll never make that something like that again. It's a parody. It's stupid,
Yeah,
but and I'm surprised Disney let them get by with it, right?
yeah, yeah. That was pretty risky for Disney at the time. At the time. Yeah, I didn't mean to geek out there for a moment, but my geekiness is showing now. So, with that being said, I want to give you the last few minutes here for you to give yourself a shout out, promote yourself to the class, what you got going on, and where they can find you in the future or even right now.
Man, for right now, they can find me mostly on YouTube. They'll see me in Central Texas, building and working on projects, acquiring land. Austin, Texas, I'm glad I got here when I did because I just think this is going to be a gold mine of a city. And I've been here since 2013, and it's so different from when I was here. I just am excited to see what the city will look like 7 years from now.
Hmm.
But you can find me on YouTube at Erika Williams. You can find me on Instagram at Erika's Classy Climb. You can also find me on Twitter, sometimes goofing. I'm not super consistent there, but I'll just go in there and just throw on the wall and then walk back out and
Yeah.
come back later to like 150 like notifications. But that's
Man,
mostly where they can find me.
man, I just want to thank you again, Guest Professor Erika Williams, for coming out and teaching us this lesson on how to start a business with little money. I appreciate all the little gems that you dropped. I appreciate you for being so transparent and candid with your answers and everything that you have said today. I definitely mirror it to the class a billion and one times now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad there's somebody else out there that's preaching the same sermon as I am.
For sure.
So for that, I want to thank you for that, and I can't wait to have you back again. And to you, class, that's it. You've collected all the notes, you jotted down everything that she said, and even if you have it, make sure you go back and listen to it over and over and over again till you get it into your spirit and for you to put it out there. And remember what guest professor Erica said, if you don't schedule it, it's not going to happen. So with that being said, class has concluded, and I will see you all in the next one. And always remember, in everything, chase it after with violent action. See you next time. about 15 years ago. I hated where I was at, and I knew that I was meant for more. Greatness even. I wanted to start a business, and I asked my friends and family, how do I start a business? 90% of them never started a business before, and the 10% that didn't remember what they did. So I went on and earned my bumps and bruises from the School of Hard Knocks. My inspiration for the School of Hard Knocks and the courses that I've created was to reach people that felt the same way that I felt way back when. Like I was destined for more. The purpose of the Genesis Project podcast was to move those same people towards that greatness with the guest professor that comes to the show and learn from their mistakes. This is a call to action to those who are searching for greatness. Join the School of Hard Knocks by commenting, sharing, subscribing, and get this message out to those searching for greatness. Click on the links in the description to get more information. And everything you do, everything that you chase after with violent action. I'll see you in the hallway.